The music died the moment I opened the ballroom door, like someone had yanked the power from the wall, and 100 conversations collapsed into a single, awful silence. I stood there holding a creased invitation and a cheap bottle of wine, my wife's company logo glowing on a massive screen behind the stage. Someone near the bar whispered, "Who is that?" Another voice hissed, "Isn't he?" Every face turned toward me, including hers, and in that frozen second, before anyone spoke, I understood I'd walked into a secret that had been carefully built to keep me outside. Claire and I had been married 9 years, the kind of marriage that looked solid because nothing dramatic ever happened. We lived in a rented townhouse, split groceries with a spreadsheet, and argued about small things like whose turn it was to do laundry. She worked in marketing for a tech firm, climbed quickly, and started attending more late dinners and mandatory networking events. I was proud, or at least I told myself I was. When she said, "You wouldn't enjoy these things anyway," I laughed and believed her, because believing was easier than asking harder questions. The invitation arrived by mistake, shoved into our mailbox with our electric bill. It was thick, embossed, and addressed to +1. Claire froze when she saw it. "That's not for spouses," she said too quickly, reaching for it. I joked, "So I'm not your +1?" She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Later that night, she added, "It's just co-workers, and it's formal. You'd hate it." I nodded, told her to have fun, and watched her delete the email confirmation from her phone. On the night of the party, she left early in a black dress I'd never seen, heels tucked into a tote to change later. "I'll be late," she said, kissing my cheek. "Don't wait up." I ordered takeout, ate alone, and tried to ignore the quiet. Around 9:30, my phone buzzed with a text meant for someone else. "He's not coming. We're good." There was no name attached, just the message. My stomach tightened. I typed, "Wrong number." No reply came, only the low hum of dread settling in. I drove downtown on impulse, parking 2 blocks away to avoid valet fees I couldn't justify. The hotel lobby smelled like citrus cleaner and money. At the elevator, a woman in a cocktail dress asked, "Marketing gala?" I nodded. She smiled. "Big night for us." When the doors opened to the ballroom level, laughter spilled out. I followed the sound, rehearsing explanations. Maybe I'd surprise her. Maybe this was nothing. Then I saw a banner with her department slogan and a man's hand resting on the small of her back in the reflection. I hesitated outside the door, listening. Someone said, "Cheers to leadership," and glasses clinked. Another voice laughed, "You earned this." I pushed the door open, and the DJ's playlist cut out mid-beat. The silence was surgical. Claire stood near the stage, her hand still linked with Mark, her director. His arm dropped like it burned him. She said my name softly. "Oh." Mark cleared his throat and tried. "This is unexpected." I heard someone murmur, "I thought she said he was out of town," and the room exhaled all at once. I forced a smile because my body didn't know what else to do. "Sorry," I said, my voice steady. "I think I'm at the right place." Claire stepped toward me, whispering, "We'll talk later." Mark added, "Let's not make a scene." That's when I noticed the slide frozen on the screen behind them. A photo of Claire and Mark shaking hands under the words "promotion announcement." Applause had been cued. So had champagne. I asked, "How long?" Claire swallowed. Mark looked away. No one answered, and that silence told me everything. Security escorted me out gently, like I was the problem to be managed. In the hallway, Claire caught up, heels clicking. "It's complicated," she said. "Please just go home." I replied, "You told someone I wasn't coming." She flinched. "It was for work." I laughed, sharp and short. "So was the hand on your back?" She said, "We didn't plan for you to be here." I said, "That's obvious." She reached for my arm. I stepped back. The elevator doors closed between us, sealing the lie inside. We talked at home near midnight, sitting at opposite ends of the couch like strangers. Claire said, "It started after my last review." I asked, "Before or after the late nights?" She said, "After." I asked, "Did HR know?" She shook her head. "It wasn't like that." I said, "It was exactly like that." She admitted Mark had promised a promotion, mentorship, Support. I asked. And me? She whispered. I didn't want to lose everything. I answered. You already did, and felt the truth land heavily. The twist came the next morning, not from her, but from my bank app. A pending deposit labeled severance adjustment hit our joint account. 5 figures I hadn't expected. I confronted her. Why is your company paying us? She sat down hard. They're buying silence, she said. Mark had been reported before. The firm offered packages to make problems disappear. I was going to tell you after the party, she added. I said, after the applause? She cried. I didn't. Something in me had gone quiet, and it scared me more. By Monday, lawyers were involved. Claire took leave. Mark was transitioned. HR sent careful emails. Friends asked vague questions. At dinner, she said, we can fix this. I replied, fix what? She said, us. I asked, which version? She reached for my hand. I pulled away. You chose the room, I said. You chose the silence. She argued, I chose our future. I answered, you chose without me. The words didn't shake. They settled, firm and final, like furniture placed for good. I moved into the guest room, then into a short-term rental near work. We split the severance per the lawyer's advice. The money felt dirty but practical. Claire texted, I miss you, and I replied, please stop. She sent, I'll do anything. I didn't answer. My routine shrank to coffee, gym, sleep. At night, I replayed the moment the music stopped, how everyone looked at me like I'd broken something fragile. In truth, I'd only opened a door. The room had done the rest. Divorce papers arrived 3 weeks later. Claire signed without protest. I'm sorry, she said, handing them back. I said, I know. We listed the house, divided books, argued once about a lamp. Friends chose sides quietly. Her company released a statement about values. Mark vanished from LinkedIn. I learned how fast respect evaporates when it's built on convenience. In mediation, the counselor asked, any chance of reconciliation? I said, no. Claire didn't argue. That was the last kindness we offered each other. Months passed. I returned to the hotel for a conference and walked past the same ballroom. The doors were closed. I paused, breathing through the memory. A colleague asked, you okay? I said, yeah. And I was. The hurt had edges now, not claws. Claire moved cities for a new job. We don't speak. Sometimes I think about the night differently, not as humiliation, but as clarity delivered brutally. Secrets rely on timing and darkness. I arrived early, turned on the lights, and saw what was already there. If there's a lesson, it isn't about parties or promotions or infidelity dressed up as ambition. It's about consent in shared lives, the quiet agreement to choose together, even when it costs you something. When the music stopped, I learned who I was to her, and who I needed to be to myself. I didn't lose a marriage that night. I gained the truth I'd been denied. Doors open whether we're invited or not. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk through, stand still, and let the room reveal itself.